Alright, so this story opens with a crazy tragic vibe. It is the kind of heartbreak that is going to leave you absolutely ruined. He is crazy. But we know he has limited time left. Basically, in the 4th year of their marriage, our main character Fang Yuan gets hit with terminal cancer. He only has 6 months to live. And right on cue, his wife Shen Yuwei's ex-husband, who is her ultimate first love, returns to the country. Talk about terrible timing. Holding his medical report at the hospital gates, Fang Yuan wants to call his wife. He keeps opening and closing her contact info, hesitant. But then, boom, she actually calls him first. Her voice is cold, but she softens a bit when she says his name. She tells him she won't be home for dinner because of work. Fang Yuan's voice gets completely stuck in his throat. He just whispers a quiet okay, and she hangs up. He stands there under the blood-red sunset, completely abandoned. They have been married for 4 years, but he has actually loved her for nearly 10. He thought he got lucky back then. She was pressured to marry, and he fit the bill, but she was always emotionally distant and cold. It took him 2 whole years of cooking and caring just to melt her icy heart even a little bit. They finally started acting like a real couple, but this beautiful dream is about to be absolutely shattered.
Because today he gets diagnosed with cancer. And today is the exact day her precious first love lands at the airport.
She rushed off the phone just to pick him up. Fang Yuan waits in the dark living room, skipping dinner entirely. Late at night, she quietly slips back inside, trying not to wake him. But as the lights flick on, they lock eyes. She's startled for a second, then frowns, asking why he is still awake in the living room. He just smiles, saying he accidentally fell asleep waiting. Her face remains completely blank and emotionless. But when he takes her coat, he smells a strong men's cologne. It is the exact scent her first love wears. While he was getting a terminal diagnosis, his wife was out driving her ex around. He wants to ask, but stays silent. He says nothing. They both pretend like absolutely nothing is wrong. The next morning, he still gets up early to make her breakfast. She has a terrible stomach issue, you see. He once spent weeks in the hospital caring for her, and everyone praised him as the absolute perfect husband. Yet her gaze was always totally blank. She even told him hiring a nurse would have been the exact same thing. That hurt, but he just smiled and told her she is his wife. He kept trying to nurse her back to health. Since she is a massive workaholic who always forgets to eat, he made it his mission to take care of her. He made her breakfast daily and constantly brought lunch to her office. Over 3 years, it just became his normal routine.
But today, she wakes up early. Before he can even help her pack up, she grabs her lunchbox and rushes out.
At the door, she pauses and looks back at him standing alone in the living room. A tiny hint of satisfaction crosses her face. She tells him she is leaving, and he warns her to be careful. Later that day, he decides to surprise her at work. The receptionist knows him well and lets him right up. He has visited her office so many times, and she always introduced him to everyone as her husband. That title made him believe they would grow old together. Honestly, this part of the story is low-key heartbreaking. It gives you a beautiful dream just to rip it away and leave you in the wreckage. He walks in only to see his wife laughing with her returned first love. In her hands is the breakfast. She is holding the exact lunchbox Fang Yuan packed. The ex is smiling, thanking her for the delicious breakfast. The wife tells him it is fine, but the ex suddenly spots our guy standing in the hallway. He waves excitedly, calling him over, but as he approaches, he freezes when he notices the lunchbox in Fang Yuan's hands. The ex realizes he just ate the breakfast Fang Yuan prepared. He acts all apologetic, saying he had low blood sugar. He claims he would have never eaten it if he knew. He smiles apologetically at him. The man praises Fang Yuan's amazing cooking. Of course it is good. Fang Yuan spent years perfecting it. He literally learned to cook just to save her stomach. He smiles back at them, masking his absolute heartbreak. But behind his back, his fist is clenched so hard his nails draw blood. Trust me, the revenge is going to hit so hard. At this point, Fang Yuan realizes his wife Shen Yuwei won't cheat, but He Qiang's return still has him low-key panicking. Playing the perfect husband is exhausting. He knows morality keeps her bound, but who will break first? Him or her? That evening, she returns and brings him a gift, a fancy men's watch. It is beautifully designed and obviously expensive, but he doesn't even like it. He rarely wears watches unless he is dressing up for her banquets. He knows his quiet wife is just using this expensive peace offering to apologize for this morning, so he forces a smile and takes it, making her relax a bit. Is she relieved he's letting it go, or just glad he's not mad at He Qiang? He tosses the box in a drawer and heads to bed. Unable to sleep, he waits until she lies down beside him. Her familiar woody perfume drifts over as she gently hugs him. Her warmth radiates through his shirt, and he pretends to sleep. But even after her breathing slows, he lies wide awake. The sharp ache in his stomach is getting worse. Staring at the cold moonlight on the floor, the heavy silence of the room closes in. He feels entirely alone in the world, and that's when it hits him. He's literally dying. The next morning, a calendar alert pops up. It's a reminder to visit his mother. His parents split when he was just a kid, after his deadbeat dad cheated on her. The mistress even had a son who's younger than Fang Yuan. Left alone, his mother worked tirelessly to raise him. So he promised to study hard, but bad luck struck. He became a prime target for school bullies, despite doing absolutely nothing. Maybe they just hated his cheap clothes. Terrified of worrying his struggling mom and with teachers doing nothing, he stayed silent. But the bullies only got worse. The day they cornered him, he was ready to end it all and take them down with him. Gripping a heavy brick in his bag, he waited for their leader to strike. But right before things turned bloody, enter Shen Yuwei. She was brilliant. Knowing bullies never stop, she stepped up and protected him, keeping those thugs away for good. Thanks to her, he survived middle school in peace. Naturally, he fell hard and chased her all the way to her university. He worked tirelessly to become a better man, but he was a step too late, because Shen Yuwei already had her own light, He Qiang. And plot twist, He Qiang is actually his half-brother. Shaking off the past, he visits his mother, who now has a new family. After a quick, polite chat, he catches a cab back home. But as he approaches his neighborhood, he spots them again. Shen Yuwei and He Qiang are walking side by side. His usually cold wife is actually smiling, a soft, genuine laugh he rarely sees. It completely breaks his heart. Suddenly, a stray dog barks at them, and they both stop to look. When He Qiang reaches down, the dog slips, and Shen Yuwei quickly steadies him. That's when she spots her husband watching. He Qiang calls out his name first. Fang Yuan walks over blankly, ignoring his brother, and scoops the dirty pup into his arms. The dog snuggles close. Looking right at his wife, he smiles and says he's keeping it. The mood instantly turns freezing cold. He insists on keeping the dog. Shen Yuwei tags along to the vet, where they find the poor pup has cracked bones and deep cuts. Despite the pain, the sweet dog stays perfectly quiet during the exam, just like our main character, silently suffering. Shen Yuwei looks like she wants to say something, but stays silent. They leave the dog at the clinic and head home. He names the pup Niannian. Back home, the silence is thick enough to cut with a knife as they head into the bedroom. Under the warm glow of the lamp, his wife walks in wearing her pajamas, looking softer than usual. Her sharp features look gentle tonight. Normally, she's a total ice queen who barely lets a smile slip. He always thought she harbored some real feelings for him after all these years, but now, that hope feels completely ridiculous. With He Qiang back, his dreams are shattered. He suddenly calls her name, and she looks up with those cold, innocent eyes. He asks if her promise still stands. When she asks what promise, he reminds her that she vowed to cherish her husband forever. She dashes his gaze, coldly asking why he's bringing this up. He shrugs it off, hiding the sudden flare of stomach pain. The agonizing throb in his head is getting worse. She whispers yes, and right then, the bedroom lights click off. She presses a warm kiss on his cheek, whispering goodnight. Soon, her breathing goes soft and even. He slips out of her hold to face her. In the dim moonlight, he carefully traces every detail of her face. She won't cheat, but her heart still belongs to He Qiang. He wonders how she'll react when he is finally gone. Will she regret treating him so coldly? Honestly, guys, ever since his terminal diagnosis, his mind has been a total mess. His first thought wasn't even about himself. It was about what his wife would do after he is gone. He actually thought since He Qiang is divorced, she could just remarry him, but definitely not right now. So he decides to fight. His memories drift back to when he first met He Qiang on his 10th birthday. The restaurant is incredibly high-end. His mom only orders a few cheap things, sitting in heavy silence while a nearby family laughs happily. That other table is filled with joy. A handsome boy keeps laughing, completely adored by his dad, sitting right across from him. The dad takes photos of his son non-stop. Then, he stands up to use the restroom, and a familiar side profile comes into view. Shock hits like a truck. Fang Yuan drops his fork. His mom notices his panic, glances over, and calmly looks away. She quietly asks if he wants to say hello. After all, that is his father. But as the man returns, the little boy runs over, and the father lifts him into a warm, joyful hug. Fang Yuan just shakes his head. His own childhood was nothing like this. His dad was always cold, scolding him whenever he tried to get close. Honestly, this whole tragic dad situation is so painful to watch. For years, that broken relationship confused him. Now he finally gets it. His father did not hate kids. He just did not love him. Everything out of reach for Fang Yuan is handed to He Qiang on a silver platter, yet he still chooses to act completely clueless. He remains kind to Shen Yuwei, but he cannot ignore the sweet perfume on her clothes or her silhouette hiding in He Qiang's social media posts. He stares at those photos for ages, quietly liking them without saying a word. He just keeps pretending everything is perfectly fine. But there is definitely a storm brewing here. Lately, Fang Yuan quit his job, brought home a dog named Niannian, and started journaling again. He documents his daily routines alongside his failing health. Insomnia keeps him awake all night, and a dull, constant ache throbs in his stomach. The pain is constant. He still cooks for Shen Yuwei every single day, but he can never bring himself to eat. Food just sits there. He has zero appetite. During his next visit with his mom, they only talk for a brief 15 minutes. Right before leaving, he slips a bank card with his PIN inside one of her books. It contains most of his life savings. This is their final goodbye. She tells him to take care, and he softly replies with the same, knowing he won't see her again. His mom will survive. She never loved his father, and she never loved him, but she still fulfilled her duty to raise him. She raised him well, and karma eventually bankrupted his father. But his mom finally found peace, marrying a good man she actually loved. They had a son and built a happy home together. Meanwhile, Shen Yuwei comes home early tonight, just as Fang Yuan finishes cooking dinner. They have not eaten together in ages. Ever since He Qiang returned, her schedule has been packed, though her polite manners never change. She eats in complete silence. He used to find this quietness peaceful, but today, after just 2 bites, his appetite completely vanishes. His stomach flares with pain. Luckily, Niannian runs downstairs and hides under the table, giving him the perfect excuse to stand up. Under her watchful eyes, he excuses himself to go feed the dog. He converted an old second-floor storage room just for Niannian. The dog's bowl is empty, so he fills it up. Watching her wag her tail and eat happily brings him a tiny bit of peace. But the relief is cut short. Sharp pain suddenly rips through his abdomen, and a rush of blood surges up his throat. He covers his mouth, but pulling his hand back reveals bright red blood. Niannian stops eating, immediately whimpering and clawing at his feet. He wipes the blood, throws the tissue away, and gently pets her head. He quietly whispers that he is okay. But the dog refuses to eat, whimpering and jumping into his arms. He cradles her close, trying to calm her down. Niannian quietens down, nuzzling him. Suddenly, Shen Yuwei knocks on the doorframe, gently telling him to finish eating first. He forces down his food. Later, while Shen Yuwei washes the dishes, he sits on the sofa, holding Niannian close. She sits beside him, offering to take him on an island resort vacation soon. Stroking Niannian's ears, he simply whispers yes. An island trip with her was his ultimate dream. They married as strangers with no honeymoon, falling straight into a cold routine. But as they grew closer, he kept hoping they could finally go together. It was supposed to be their belated honeymoon. He never told her, only bringing it up occasionally. But her workaholic schedule always got in the way, pushing it back indefinitely. Now she is the one offering. Seeing her warm smile, he pretends not to notice. Then she casually mentions another event. She asks him to accompany her to a banquet next Wednesday. Fang Yuan flatly declines, and she simply nods without pushing further.
He keeps his eyes on the dog, ignoring her. He knows He Qiang just returned and needs connections. This banquet is his perfect chance. If He Qiang asks, Shen Yuwei will definitely bring him along. Stroking meaning, he knows she has no idea he will be there too.
Yet he still goes. The banquet hall is dazzling, packed with wealthy elites dressed in absolute luxury. While everyone socializes happily, Fang Yuan stands in the darkest corner like an uninvited guest. He is completely out of place. For over 10 years, his eyes have chased her in every crowd. Tonight, she wears a stunning gown, walking arm in arm with He Qiang, who looks sharp in a tailored suit. They look like a perfect couple. Honestly, my heart is absolutely shattered for him here. Seeing them together feels like a brutal slap to the face. His chest tightens with suffocating pain, as if vines are crushing his heart.
The agony is overwhelming, making his head throb with heavy pressure. Yet he stands frozen in the crowd, completely helpless.
Fang Yuan stands there, watching them act all cozy. Suddenly, someone walks up. They tap her shoulder and point in his direction. Shen Yuwei looks over, but Fang Yuan is dangerously thin. Honestly, he's too scared of his own gaunt face to look in mirrors. She definitely sees him. Her face instantly drops, complete shock. They just stare. He watches silently.
No smile, no tears. Shen Yuwei immediately flings off He Qiang's hand to push through the heavy crowd. Her steps are frantic. Fang Yuan just gives her a tragic smile, turns, and leaves, straight to his room. His mind is a tangled mess. Crushing pain tightens around his chest. It's suffocating. Like his heart might explode, he finally snaps, sweeping everything off his desk. Books crash down. Not enough. He tears books apart, ripping pages into shreds. They flutter down like a miserable, mocking snow. He smashes her gifts and their gold foil art. Pure, destructive grief takes over. The room is a total wreck, mirroring his shattered life. When he finally snaps out of it, this is tragic. Scissors against his skin, but his puppy Niannian is barking frantically. The dog suddenly stops and gives a goofy grin. The scissors clatter down. Niannian leaps into his arms. Holding that tiny, warm body close, Fang Yuan just breaks down crying. The rage vanishes. Only emptiness remains. A gaping void. By the time Shen Yuwei gets home, he is already cleaned up. She wants to talk. Fang Yuan just sits on the couch, smiling. He knows she wants to explain. He spent 4 years teaching this cold woman how to survive high society. Back then, she was always ice cold. He taught her everything. Now she navigates elite banquets flawlessly. But at home, she's still distant. He used to think she was just quiet. Now, she just had nothing to say to him. He smiles and cuts her off. Don't worry, he says. I know He Qiang just got back and has no connections. You just wanted to help, he says gently. She's stunned. His eyes remain incredibly gentle. She finally looks away, but suddenly pulls him into a tight, desperate embrace. Hugging him tight, she whispers that he's lost weight. He says nothing. Her perfume makes him physically sick. He suppresses the urge to throw up. The next morning, he drives her to work. He thinks she's leaving, but she stops, softly telling him she forgot her tie. He goes upstairs to grab one. She doesn't take it. She just leans in and asks him to tie it for her. She stands there obediently, but suddenly wraps her arms around his waist, pulls him close. Their bodies press together. Before he can speak, she kisses him passionately. Her eyes flush red. Fang Yuan stays quiet. She kisses his forehead, smiles, and leaves. Little does she know, he has a 10 a.m. meeting. He arrives on time, but He Qiang makes him wait 30 minutes. He Qiang is good-looking, but a total parasite. He grew up pampered. Even after bankruptcy, his luck never ran out. He married rich abroad, divorced, and now has Shen Yuwei protecting him. Bro, he is a walking cheat code. He sits down with a bright, sunny smile. Fang Yuan looks pale and exhausted. He Qiang cheerfully asks why they're meeting. They aren't even close, yet He Qiang acts familiar. Fang Yuan's tea sits untouched. The cold glass keeps him grounded. He Qiang notices the drink, smiles, and orders an iced Americano from the waiter.
Smiling, He Qiang says Shen Yuwei loves iced Americanos. Just blatant disrespect. Fang Yuan quietly sips his tea. He Qiang acts innocent, but he was the one who randomly reached out. He sent a polite WeChat request, but his tone was oozing smugness, like he couldn't wait to steal his wife. The sweet tea fades to pure bitterness. He Qiang just stares, waiting. When Fang Yuan looks up, He Qiang smirks. He starts to say he needs to thank Shen Yuwei. Then, boom. A loud slap echoes. Everyone turns to stare. He Qiang is completely dazed, a bright red handprint burning on his cheek. He clutches his face, but one slap isn't enough to satisfy Fang Yuan's rage. He picks up the fruit tea and dumps the entire glass right over He Qiang's head, soaking him completely. Lemon slices stick to his wet hair. Honestly, he looks absolutely ridiculous. The entire cafe is watching. The once smug He Qiang is completely humiliated and speechless. He can only stammer Fang Yuan's name. Fang Yuan coldly cuts off He Qiang's little performance, telling him to stop playing mind games. He Qiang opens his mouth, completely speechless. He asks if He Qiang returned just to steal Shen Yuwei away. Fang Yuan is incredibly calm here, and He Qiang's face goes totally pale. But the villain recovers fast. He Qiang pulls out a tissue, slowly wipes his face, and smiles. Yeah, he admits it. With a smug grin, He Qiang whispers that love cannot be forced. At this point, the gloves are completely off. Honestly, the plot twist here is crazy because Fang Yuan just laughs and proposes a bet. If He Qiang wins, she is all his. That way he avoids being the homewrecker. He Qiang accepts. Later, Shen Yuwei comes home while Fang Yuan is writing in his diary, forcing him to hide his pen. He hides the diary in a drawer. Lately, Shen Yuwei has been coming home pretty early, even spending her evenings with him. They even walk their dog, Niannian, together. Tonight, as he reads, she suddenly cuddles up and leans into his chest. Feeling her warmth, he watches her lean in close to read his incredibly cheesy romance novel with him. In the story, the female lead defends another guy who punches her husband. Hearing this, Shen Yuwei hugs him even tighter. Fang Yuan just casually turns the page. In the book, the female lead constantly hurts her husband for the other guy. Heartbroken, the husband finally leaves, and the wife regrets it, trying desperately to win him back. Talk about foreshadowing, guys. Late at night, he needs his sleeping pills from the other room. He tries to push her aside, but she clings tight, so he quietly calls her name. She mumbles a soft response. The room gets dead silent, so quiet that he can actually hear her heartbeat. Burying her face in his chest, she complains that he does not call her by her nickname anymore. She sounds so hurt. He wants to laugh. She used to call him Brother Yuan with such distant politeness. They have both changed so much. Turning to face her, Fang Yuan wraps his arm around her waist and softly whispers her name. She stares, searching his eyes. She pulls him closer. Honestly, he never knew she could act this deeply in love. It is almost believable. But if she truly loves him, why does she care so much about He Qiang? A week passes, and their anniversary arrives. She clings to him constantly now. On the 100th day of his diary, which is their anniversary, a promise is kept. She came home early to cook all afternoon. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan takes Niannian out, returning to a beautifully decorated home. Delicious food is laid out, and Shen Yuwei stands there with the warmest smile on her face. "Welcome home," she says. She set up roses, music, and 2 plane tickets for a beach trip. It is incredibly romantic, but also kind of bittersweet. He smiles, looking at the tickets. Everything is perfect until 8 p.m. Then He Qiang calls, sobbing in pain. He uses their old intimate nickname, begging her and crying that he has absolutely nobody else in the city. The romantic mood instantly dies. Shen Yuwei looks at Fang Yuan, and with just that one glance, he already knows. She apologizes, promising to return quickly after taking He Qiang to the hospital. Fang Yuan asks if she can stay. She goes dead silent. Just like that, her warmth vanishes, and she becomes the icy stranger from 4 years ago. She promises to return in time for their anniversary, but the tension is suffocating. Finally, Fang Yuan lets her go. He smiles and bids her goodbye like a perfect, dutiful husband, telling her to be careful on the road.
But inside, he knows this is the end.
Go safely, he tells her. She leaves, and he is left alone in the apartment with the romantic music playing. Fang Yuan grabs the speaker and smashes it onto the floor, silencing the room completely. The facade is finally over. He knows she will not return tonight. He Qiang won their little bet, but Fang Yuan did not lose either. He locks his door and grabs his diary. Locking himself in his room, he opens his diary to the final page. Writing this feels impossibly heavy. His body is failing him. Head, chest, stomach, everything hurts like a knife twisting inside. He feels freezing cold. Shaking, he forces his trembling hand to write down the date, August 25th, their actual wedding anniversary. He writes that she cooked, decorated, and planned a beautiful trip to the islands for them. But He Qiang called and she abandoned him. He writes that he will never make it to that island. He signs off with a final goodbye. His tears smudge the ink, but he feels no sadness, only physical agony.
Fang Yuan was surviving purely on love. Since nobody loved him, he kept himself alive using his love for her.
But now, that love is completely dry. He is just an empty shell, a candle burned down to the absolute end. His last ounce of love died tonight. Putting his pen down, he actually bursts out laughing. His role is done. Why did he pretend to be blind to her affair? Why let He Qiang play his games? Now this is where the story gets incredibly dark. He did not give He Qiang a chance. He handed him a knife.
Shen Yuwei might not love him, but she will never forget him. She will live in pure, eternal guilt. Talk about a brutal revenge.
Fang Yuan wanted to drown Shen Yuwei in absolute guilt. He wanted her to read this diary, feel his agony, and spend her entire life remembering how her terminally ill husband slowly marched toward death while she pushed him deeper and deeper into a hopeless abyss. Honestly, this whole tragic drama they were living in, it only reached its peak with his death. Next up, Shen Yuwei and He Qiang. Our main character literally forced hard sleeping pills down his throat, choking as he swallowed them all. He left behind his diary, alongside recipes he custom-made for her bad stomach. Shen Yuwei was always picky, so for 4 years he perfected these meals. He tailored every single dish to her taste, making it his final painful gift to her. He then lay quietly on the bed, just waiting. Hands crossed, he waited for death. It was dead silent until their dog Niannian started scratching desperately at the door, whimpering. But Fang Yuan just stared at the ceiling, letting the darkness take over as his dog kept barking. Meanwhile, Shen Yuwei was about to get a major reality check. Out of nowhere, she felt this crushing wave of panic, like she was about to lose the most important person in her life. It felt just like the banquet where she saw Fang Yuan standing in the distance, looking so pale and thin, like he could vanish at any moment. Her mind screamed to hold him and never let go, but he still walked away. She was so shook she completely forgot why she even went to the party. After an hour of pure distraction, she rushed home, expecting him to be furious, jealous, or at least scream at her. But no, Fang Yuan just sat on the couch, gave her a soft smile, and gently let her off the hook. Talk about unsettling. Still, she reassured herself that Fang Yuan loved her unconditionally. He had always been so loud and clear about his devotion. She assumed his endless patience meant he would always forgive her. So when her ex, He Qiang, called her crying, she fell right back into old habits. She ran to He Qiang, thinking Fang Yuan would just understand. But as she tried to leave the hospital, He Qiang grabbed her sleeve. He Qiang begged her to stay with him. Now, she actually wanted to say no because of her wedding anniversary with Fang Yuan, but seeing He Qiang crying and trembling in the dark, she completely folded. She stayed the entire night, only returning home the next morning. The living room light was still on. Feeling incredibly guilty for breaking her promise, she rushed inside to find him. But the bedroom was empty. No Fang Yuan in the study, no Fang Yuan anywhere. The anniversary dinner on the table was untouched and ice cold. In the corner, the stereo lay smashed to pieces on the floor. He was gone, taking only his clothes and the dog. Shen Yuwei figured he was just throwing a tantrum and went on a trip. She thought he would calm down in a few days. But days passed, and Fang Yuan never came back. He literally vanished off the face of the earth.
His phone was dead, he'd quit his job 3 months ago, and his own mother had not seen him in a month. She even told Shen Yuwei to return his bank card.
The mother's cold, distant tone made Shen Yuwei realize something was seriously wrong. That crushing panic rushed back, hitting her harder than ever.
Desperate, she started digging into his whereabouts, tracking his phone, his cards, and even his dashcam footage.
His dashcam showed a painfully simple routine: strolling around, buying groceries, coming home to eat, and taking the dog out.
It was the same loop every single day, except for one detail. He kept making trips to the hospital.
Shen Yuwei was no fool. Connecting the dots, everything started to make terrifying sense. She remembered waking up at night to see him staring blankly out the window. She remembered how fragile and thin his body felt when she hugged him, and how quiet he had become at dinner.
He had kept all of his pain locked away behind a silent smile. She did not want to believe the truth, but she had no choice. She searched everywhere for a month and a half, but Fang Yuan had vanished. Then, a call from an unknown number changed everything.
Fang Yuan was dead. He had passed away at a quiet island hospice. By the time she got there, his ashes were already scattered into the ocean.
The nurse who met her was incredibly cold. She led Shen Yuwei to his room, where his final belongings lay.
The nurse handed over 3 notebooks, telling her they were his journals and personal records. Then she paused. She told Shen Yuwei that Fang Yuan wanted them burned, but she felt she deserved to see them. The nurse gave her one last freezing look.
Shen Yuwei sat alone in that sunlit room for hours. The warm sunlight felt completely mocking as a heavy, suffocating silence filled the space.
She felt like she was literally being choked. At midnight, she finally gathered the courage to open the first diary. Every ignored detail, every hidden tear, and all the agonizing pain he had silently endured was laid bare in front of her. It completely shattered her. The first entry was dated May 17th, where he wrote about his terminal cancer diagnosis and the doctor's pity. Fang Yuan wrote that he could barely process the news. The doctor told him there was no cure and begged him to check in immediately.
But he refused. He hated the cold, sterile hospital walls, the smell of disinfectant, and the thought of being completely alone.
He wanted to call Shen Yuwei, but how do you even say that? How do you tell the person you love that you are dying? He decided to stay silent. Right then, she called him, just to say she would be late. That was when he remembered He Qiang was returning.
He wondered if she went to pick him up. The next entry on May 18th mentioned running into He Qiang while delivering lunch to her office. He Qiang was as charming as ever. He even ate the lunch Fang Yuan spent all morning cooking, which made him furious at first.
At this point, Yuwei belongs to He Qiang completely, and he can do whatever he wants. On May 21st, our guy goes to see his mother and sees she is doing great. He originally wanted to tell her the truth.
But he decides not to, realizing she is finally happy and he shouldn't disturb her peace. On his way back, he randomly runs into Yuwei, He Qiang, and a tiny puppy.
He wants to adopt it, but the moment he says it, Yuwei's face completely drops.
Still, he insists on keeping it anyway. Later at the vet, the doctor asks what its name is. Let us name him Niannian. On May 22nd, before bed, he asks Yuwei if her promises still stand, and she says yes, if only our main character was a bit more naive. Then he wouldn't have noticed her dodging his eyes. Honestly, those who betray sincere hearts deserve to swallow 1,000 needles. On May 25th, he's scrolling through his social media feed.
He spots Yuwei in a photo posted by He Qiang. It is some fancy dinner party for young elites, with her face partially visible in the bottom left corner. The caption says, "It is great having a business tycoon as a friend." Our guy low-key agrees, so he actually goes ahead and drops a like on the post.
On May 28th, Niannian has been home for a few days. The online orders for dog supplies finally arrive at the pickup station, but the shop owner packed them all together, making it way too heavy. When Shen Yuwei gets home, he asks her to help bring the packages inside. She casually agrees, but immediately heads straight to her study. Will she even remember? On June 1st, he takes Niannian out. They play for the entire day. On their way back, they pass by the pickup station, and he decides to just go in and grab the heavy packages himself. The worker there is super nice and helps him load everything into his car. He sets up Niannian's room on the second floor, not even bothering to wait for Yuwei to return.
By June 7th, his sleep quality is absolutely terrible, leaving him with constant insomnia. While walking Niannian during the day, he passes a bakery and realizes he hasn't had any sweets in ages. So he buys a box of tiramisu, but the second he gets home, his appetite completely vanishes. He used to absolutely love this dessert, but now he can't bring himself to eat it.
Just looking at the sweet, heavy cream makes him feel sick to his stomach. By June 19th, Shen Yuwei seems busier than ever, constantly telling him.
She tells him not to wait up for her at night, but even as she completely fades from his life, she keeps constantly popping up in He Qiang's social media posts. Honestly, he low-key envies He Qiang sometimes. As a kid, He Qiang's parents adored him. Grown up, his wife loved him. Even after getting divorced, our main character's own wife loves him too. Meanwhile, our guy has absolutely nothing left. On June 25th, insomnia takes over completely. He lies awake all night as his agonizing pain grows worse. It hurts to stand, and it hurts to sit. It even hurts to lie down. The physical suffering is off the charts, and looking in the mirror, his complexion is utterly lifeless. His skin is starting to look sickly and yellow. On June 30th, Shen Yuwei actually comes home for dinner, but honestly, it has been ages since he had a proper meal. Whenever he forces down a single bite, he immediately throws it right back up, so he barely eats. He makes an excuse to go feed Niannian. But instead, he starts coughing up blood. He used to only see this dramatic, terminally ill male lead trope on television, but he clearly does not get any of that main character treatment. Yet he still ended up with the terminal illness anyway. Honestly, he tells himself it is no big deal. Compared to the constant pain and insomnia, vomiting blood feels completely minor now. On July 5th, Shen Yuwei asks if he wants to attend a fancy banquet with her. He declines, realizing he hasn't worn a suit in ages, with sleepless nights and being unable to eat. His body is wasting away. Brushing his teeth one morning, he catches his reflection. The hollow cheeks, prominent cheekbones, dark circles, and pale lips make him look like a total stranger. He has aged decades in an instant, yet he is only in his 20s, supposedly in the absolute prime of his life. But he knows it only gets worse toward the end. The extreme weight loss, jaundice, unbearable pain, and sheer exhaustion will torment him until his final breath. But he does not want to die looking like a shadow of himself. On July 11th, he breaks his promise and goes to the banquet anyway. Seeing Shen Yuwei and He Qiang together, they look incredibly compatible. The thought immediately haunts his fading mind. When Shen Yuwei finally spots him and tries to approach, our guy panics and runs away as fast as he can. At this point, he realizes. He is completely losing control of his emotions. Honestly, if Niannian wasn't there, he might have totally snapped. By July 18th, the severe pain, insomnia, and vomiting are constant. On July 22nd, he snaps out of a dark daze to find the scissors in his room covered in blood, with a deep bleeding gash freshly cut into his own arm. He quickly bandages it up, knowing this is not the first time. He decides to get sleeping pills tomorrow. By July 26th, eating just triggers agonizing pain and vomiting. He completely refuses to eat. On July 30th, the pain becomes so intense that he nearly passes out right in his bed. His consciousness finally returns. Niannian is there quietly licking his hand. He gently pats the puppy's head, picking up his phone to scroll through social media. The first thing he sees is He Qiang's post from the beach. In the very last photo, he spots Shen Yuwei's hand, still wearing their wedding ring. On August 1st, the pain is unbearable. On August 5th, he gets stronger painkillers from the hospital. By August 15th, he notes up with He Qiang, who looks incredibly bright and handsome. Meanwhile, our guy hasn't looked in a mirror for ages. He already knows he has become completely unrecognizable and gaunt. On August 20th, the sleeping pills completely stop working. The doctor strongly urges him to get hospitalized, warning that the final stage will be pure torture. He refuses, never planning to survive anyway. August 25th was supposed to be the day Fang Yuan died. This part is low-key heartbreaking, but Niannian actually saves his life. He should have died that day, but Niannian refuses to let him go. The loyal puppy barks and barks, so loud and incredibly noisy that he cannot even drift away. The noise irritates him so much that he simply cannot take it anymore. Using his very last ounce of fading consciousness, he dials 120. Hours later, he wakes up in a hospital bed with an IV drip in his arm. A nurse is standing nearby, but his only thought is where Niannian is.
The nurse is briefly stunned, asking who Niannian is. Pushing himself up, his weak body refuses to cooperate. The nurse holds him as he mutters that he needs to go home immediately. The nurse warns him that he is way too weak, but he stubbornly keeps repeating that he must go home. Niannian is not here, and he desperately needs to find his dog. By the time he gets home, it is already midnight. He sees unread messages from Shen Yuwei, but ignores them, blocking her number completely. As the door swings open, the off-white puppy instantly leaps straight into his arms. Niannian keeps whimpering, rubbing, and eagerly licking his face. Holding his only loyal companion, our main character finally bursts into tears. All of Yuan's bottled-up emotions finally explode like a flood. Honestly, it is low-key heartbreaking to watch him sob on the cold floor while clutching his dog. He cries until he is completely drained, burying his face in the pup's fur. In a soft whisper, he tells Niannian that they should just leave. He wants to go somewhere completely hidden, where it is just him, his dog, and actual peace. We do not even know if the little pup understands. But Niannian just stares at Yuan with those big, soulful eyes and gently licks away every single tear. Bro, dogs really are too pure for this world. A dog will always love the one who saved him, so Yuan packs up overnight and moves to a quiet island, checking into a hospice care home. Honestly, island life is just as beautiful as he hoped. He spends his days playing on the beach with Niannian, chatting with locals, and taking sunset walks. The endless waves and salty breeze bring him so much peace. Eventually, he hires a young caregiver to help him get around. Her name is Xiao Zhao, and she is super sweet and capable, but after seeing Yuan cough up blood, she panics and asks what is wrong. Yuan just casually tosses the bloody tissue aside and mutters that it is cancer. Xiao Zhao instantly starts tearing up, which totally catches him off guard. She looks at him crying and says he is only in his 20s, crying so hard that her tears actually burn his hand. She cries, asking why someone so young has to go through this. Honestly, some people just have so much empathy, even if they barely know you. Xiao Zhao knows nothing about his tragic past, yet her grief for him is completely real. Yan thought he was numb to it all, but seeing her? When she gently holds his hand and asks if it hurts, Yuan finally breaks down. The sickness has already ruined his body anyway. Every morning, he wakes up straight into agonizing pain. He can barely eat anymore, and even his favorite foods taste completely bland now. Eating only makes the pain worse, but the mental toll of insomnia and having absolutely no one to talk to is way worse. The only one by his side is Niannian. The poor dog can't talk, but he barks anxiously and circles Yuan whenever he sees him suffering. But the moment Yuan hugs him, the pup goes quiet and gently licks his hand. Yuan whispers to him that it hurts so much. It is a sad confession, but who else can he tell? His dad only cares about He Qiang, so talking to him is out of the question. He cannot tell his mother, who has a new family, nor Shen Yuwei, who is busy planning a future for his rival, He Qiang. So he ends up venting to a relative stranger. At this point, Yuan has completely given up on hospital treatments, since they only prolong the agony. Living on painkillers and sleeping pills, he wastes away. Looking in the mirror, he sees a gaunt, pale shadow of a 20-something guy. He thinks he looks hideous. His life is like a fading flower, and soon he can barely even walk anymore. Every day, Xiao Zhao pushes him outside in a wheelchair to soak up the sun while they watch Niannian run around the grass. Niannian never cares how sick Yuan looks and constantly tries to lick him. Xiao Zhao stops asking about his illness altogether. Instead, they just talk about their pasts, normal gossip, and life. But one day, she finds a wedding ring hidden in his drawer. She is shocked and asks if he is married. When Yuan says yes, she starts to ask about his partner, but trails off, sensing the heavy silence. She has no idea his partner doesn't even know he is sick or that he fled here. She accidentally blurts out if they got divorced. She immediately covers her mouth, but Yuan just smiles and gently changes the subject. Meanwhile, time on the island keeps slipping away. Happy times never last long. Soon the painkillers stop working entirely and the agonizing pain becomes completely unbearable. He cannot eat a single bite. Yuan even hides a blade in his room, sometimes holding it right against his wrist.
But looking at Niannian sleeping peacefully nearby, he always puts it down. Living has truly become pure torture for him. He barely leaves his bed, but lying down hurts too. To distract him, Xiao Zhao tells him some chaotic local gossip about a crazy breakup. Apparently, this girl slit her wrists just to force her boyfriend to stay, causing an absolute scene at the hospital. It sounds toxic as hell. Xiao Zhao thinks it is insane to risk your life for love, but Yuan believes it happens when someone loves too deeply. It turns into a toxic obsession. Yuan just smiles sadly, because those who have never been loved are always the ones craving it most. Xiao Zhao is completely stunned by his words. She never expected someone as gentle as Yuan to have such deep, painful insights. He says he has Niannian now. He tells her to comfort that girl, saying she is a bit like him, but also very different. Unlike Yuan, that girl has loving parents and a future ahead of her. She will eventually find someone who truly loves her. She has a chance to start over, but Yuan is officially out of time. Knowing the end is near, he asks for one last seaside walk. It is a quiet, peaceful night, and even Niannian is silent. When they return, Niannian sneaks into the bedroom despite being banned lately. The dog rushes to the bed, begging for cuddles, but when Xiao Zhao tries to carry him out, Niannian growls and barks fiercely. Yuan softly calls his name, and the pup immediately calms down, looking incredibly sad. Yuan nods to Xiao Zhao, who gently carries him away.
As Niannian's soft whines fade down the hall, Yuan remembers their very first meeting. Back then, the pup was just a dirty...
He was so sick and clearly abused by his previous owners. As the pain starts taking over Yuan's consciousness, he wishes they met sooner. With his final breaths, Yuan prays that in their next life, he can find Niannian sooner and give him a truly happy, healthy home. Her precious pup never has to starve, freeze, or get abused again. And honestly, seeing her finally start to love herself hits so deep.